My point is that people have been motivated to want to blow up the establishment. And, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump represent radically different ways of doing that. So even though they led different voters in very different directions, I do think it's meaningful that anti-establishment candidates, the more dramatically anti-establishment, the better, be it from the left or the right, have been able to get so much support in the recent years.
Welcome back to Harvard. That was Mayor Pete Buttigieg today doubling down, I believe, on remarks he made drawing parallels between Bernie Sanders backers and President Trump's backers. Publicly, Trump has expressed confidence in his chances against Sanders. A new report actually suggests behind closed doors he's not believing Sanders' political smart. He's believing them. According to the Daily Beast, the president is of two minds. While he sees the senator as a vulnerable opponent, he also has offered begrudging respect for his political acumen. President Trump will sometimes unpromptedly bring up Sanders' own working-class support and acknowledge that there is, in fact, potential for the senator to win over Trump voters with his populist appeal. For more, I'm joined by a couple experts, Jennifer Palmieri, former communications director for Hillary for America, and Jason Johnson, politics editor for TheRoot.com. Jennifer, my thoughts, what your thoughts are, I find it... I never know what game Trump's playing. I never know what any politician is playing. Sometimes they build people up because they want them as their opponent. What do you think?
Right. I think that's right. And particularly with Trump, you can't be sure because I think unlike other politicians, he plays a game about what might get reflected in the press and how he can use that to his benefit. So, but I can tell you, I have my own experience with Senator Sanders as a primary opponent, and he is a very effective candidate in many respects. You know, he's very consistent in the message that he delivers. He believes very much to his core what he's saying, and he's been saying the same thing for 40 years. And he's definitely struck a chord with a lot of.
That's the little shiv. I love it because it's so true.
No, I really think this is true. Yeah. He has said and I think this is why, and maybe this is what Trump respects about him. This is why you can't throw Bernie Sanders off in a Q&A or in an interview, right? Because he believes what he believes, and he's believed it for a long time, and he's not going to change his mind because someone's trying to get him in a gotcha question. So he's very focused in that way. I don't know that everybody likes what he's saying, and I don't know that he'll win the Democratic primary, but he is. I understand that why he is effective and why he has such committed supporters. But, for Mayor Buttigieg, it's a lesson not to talk about the motivations of other people's supporters, right? That is where you get into trouble. So it's always a mistake to try to care for another candidate to characterize how one of their opponent's supporters feel about them.
Jason, your thoughts about this doppelganger between the guy on the left and the guy on the... I wouldn't even call Trump on the right. I don't know what he's on. I wouldn't call it the right. He's on something.
Well, first off, I'll go to the straight numbers. Now, depending on which pollster and which political scientist that you speak to, there's anywhere from 13 to like 17% of Bernie voters who did vote for Trump. It's not crazy. It's not crazy to make comparisons.
But that's the antipathy speaking from the primary fight. Well, in many cases.
It was, but it's also people who wanted an outsider. So, look, as much as I think that Buttigieg probably stumbled and he's still doubling down, that's not an entirely crazy thing to look at. But here's the other issue.
Hey, look, there were Kennedy people back when I was in politics who were voting for Trump because they're mad at Carter for beating them in the primaries.
And there were Hillary people who ended up voting for John McCain. But I think those people still exist because they wanted that outsider. Now, here's the key. I also think, and this is smart on the part of Mayor Pete's behalf, look, you got to go for the king. If he's going to actually sustain himself as a real contending candidate, he can't hide behind Joe Biden. He can't hide and not attack Joe Biden, not attack Bernie Sanders. I actually think it is a smart strategy for him. And again, if he wants to portray himself as the Midwestern outsider, who's the guy you're going to go after? You got to go after Sanders.
I think, anyway, a new poll out today, guys, shows one reason Sanders supporters could be taking on the South Bend mayor. The University of New Hampshire Granite State poll, it's a good poll, I think, showed Sanders leading the pack with 30 because he's in the neighborhood, with Joe Biden at 18 because everybody knows him, and Buttigieg with 15%. Jennifer, it looks like he can, I'm not saying he's going to beat Bernie up there in New Hampshire, but he might be the out-of-towner that gives him the best fight.
He might. Well, it's also, it's April. I mean, it's April. It's 8 to 10 months, right, away before anybody starts to vote. And I think that, but I disagree about what Jason just said about but this being a smart thing for Buttigieg. Buttigieg didn't go after Bernie, right? He went after Bernie's supporters, and that's not a good move. And I think part of what Buttigieg's appeal thus far has been is that for people who really pay a lot of attention to politics, like those of us speaking and those of us watching, we're interested in the political analysis, and Buttigieg is really good at political analysis, but that's not great for candidates, right? Candidates want to be talking to voters, not making good political analysis. So I think, he's a very talented candidate, but it's yet to be seen if that's going to last, and if we're still going to be talking about him in the same way when people start voting next year.
Can I just say one thing that will upset people, because it's true numbers? The only people that are really connected with people up in New Hampshire, which is a very political state, as Jennifer, you guys know, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, and Buttigieg, that's it. Yeah. Once you get that cut line, they're running in the teens, high teens, and up to 20, then everybody is down in the slop. There's nothing there. Warren, who's known up there, she's from Massachusetts, 5%. Kamala, 4%. Corey, 3%. Kirsten Gillibrand, 1%. Nothing.
Well, yeah.
Why?
Well, look, some of this is just name recognition. It's just screaming in name recognition. And
they're on television every night, these people.
Yeah, but they're not on television the way that Buttigieg is on television. They're not known the way that Bernie Sanders is known. They're not known
Kirsten's been on an awful lot. So's Corey been on an awful lot.
But they're not going to connect the same way. They're not going to connect the same way with those voters.
Okay, we got to go. Some people are working, some people aren't. Jennifer knows this business. Jennifer, thank you for coming on. Jennifer Palmieri. Jason Johnson up next. The latest from SRI.